The first hour of Jedi Survivor is quite an experience, not because of the gameplay or story or anything that really happens in the game itself, but more because you'll need to adjust to the awful image quality and terrible frame rate, at least on PS5 where I played it. We have a performance mode that attempts to hit 60 but doesn't most of the time, with some of the worst image quality I've seen so far on PS5 due to the game's use of AMD's FSR2 upscaling, which I think we can all agree, is shit. Like, it's just bad. It was impossible for me to look at this game in the 60 FPS mode without wanting to stab my eyes out. We also have a quality mode, quality in air quotes, that runs at 30 FPS but is still far from what I would call quality, and it seems like Respawn felt the same way because there's not actually a name for the mode and it still looks like dookie. It's an absolute shit show from an image point of view, and it's a shame because Fallen Order had the same fucking issues. You'd think EA would have learned from last time, but no. This is just further proof that publishers don't give a shit about spending time getting their games right before kicking them out the door to let rabid fans rip it apart. But I digress. You can watch this video to hear more of my thoughts on this subject, but my point is, it took me a while to adjust to the game's visuals, and I ended up playing through the game in 30 FPS mode because, well, fuck. And even then, the image quality in 30 FPS mode is still bad. But hey, Jedi Survivor rocks! Goddamn, what a great game. From beginning to end, I had so much fun playing this game. It takes everything from the first game and expands and builds upon it in the best ways. You start the game with everything you earned from the last game. There's no depowering or loss of abilities. You're the same old Cal you last played as, only this time you get to wear clothes instead of rags, and that's cool. You can even have facial hair and a mullet if you're so inclined, which I am. Actually, there's a ton of customization options, and they're all very good and available through this crazy thing called gameplay. That's right, you don't have to spend extra money to unlock shit, it's right there in the game. All you have to do is look for it. What a novel idea, I hope it catches on. And hey, the story is also top-notch. Respawn again proving that they're more than capable of telling a compelling Star Wars story with likable characters, full of twists and turns, some of which I didn't see coming. So extra points for that. It really is a well-written Star Wars, and the ending feels complete while also setting up a sequel that I'm very much looking forward to playing one day. Likewise, the gameplay is just as good as it was in the first game. It's very similar to the first game, it doesn't go crazy, nothing comes out of left field to surprise you, like, wow, this isn't what I was expecting, Cal's a kaiju piloting a Gundam now. No, it's very much what you would expect if you played the first game and gave any thought to what they could add in a sequel. The biggest new additions are stances, but unlike the ones in games like Ghost of Tsushima, for example, which required you to change stances depending on enemy types, the ones in Jedi Survivor leave it up to the player to decide on how they'd like to play the game. To give you some idea, there are stances that do less damage but are faster to use, and stances that do more damage but are slower to use, etc., and so on. It really comes down to your playstyle, and mine is definitely coward, so I went with the ones with range and also fast hits so that I could dodge away like a scared little Jedi mouse, you know? Everybody seems to have their own share of bugs with this game, but my experience has been mostly okay, except for one time where a context prompt didn't show up, which stopped me from progressing forward and required me to restart the game to get it to show up. I haven't seen a ton of bugs, at least on PS5, but I also didn't do a heap of exploring. I was mostly mainlining the game to get this review done, so maybe there are other areas with more bugs that I didn't see. But from my personal experience, my time with the game was fairly bug-free. Graphically, the game is astounding. There is a ton of detail in the characters and the different environments. The game relies heavily on ray tracing features for global illumination and reflections. This is a huge step up from Fallen Order. But, well, we're back to where we started with the image quality. The game has these incredible modern graphics, but it's such a smeared mess at times. Some sections look clean, especially here on Kobo, standing still. No, don't move. Nah, just stay still. What? Wow. Beautiful. But there are some areas, especially later in the game, that look atrocious. See the black smear on the platform as Cal jumps here? You'll notice a lot of that kind of smearing throughout the game, and it's distracting and awful looking. It's such a shame that a game with graphics this good are being hidden under these terrible upscaling techniques. I'm really hoping Respawn can implement a better technique at some point because FSR2 is the worst. So there you go. My thoughts on Jedi Survivor. Technical issues aside, this is one of the best games I've played this year so far, if not the best, and the technical issues aren't enough to detract me from that point of view. The high quality of likable characters, great story and gameplay far outweigh whatever visual hiccups and frame rate issues the game might have. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is badass.
This isn't going your way.